sexually molesting children, some people found it troubling that he went on to have 3 children of his own. But as it turns out, he was an attentive and loving father. How are his children doing now, living at their grandmother's house? And what wise plans did he set in place to protect their future? There are images of Michael Jackson's children that shocked the world. The singer dangling his baby son out of a hotel window, forcing his children to wear bizarre masks out in public. But perhaps the one that will endure longest is that of Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris, speaking at his memorial service.
And I just wanted to say I love him so much. Paris has such a love for her father, and it just touches her heart to know that he will no longer be with her. Daddy has been the best.
What was it like to be there, to see Paris break down talking about how much she loved her daddy?
It was an emotional moment. It wasn't easy.
Frank Cassio was a close friend of Michael's for decades, sharing vacations and holidays with the king of pop. He has seen Michael's children many times since their father's death.
Those 3 kids, it's their father. That's all they knew. That was their world.
Friends, I wish for you to learn about perseverance and confidence and the true meaning of success, which is love.
It's like somebody took their world away from them.
It'll get better with time. That pain will still always be there. But I don't think it's heavy.
Michael Jackson's first son, Prince, was born in February of 1997 to Jackson and his second wife, Debbie Rowe. When Barbara Walters sat down with Michael 7 months later, his joy was obvious.
Do you like being a father?
I love it.
Are you very involved with him?
Yes. Just hearing my voice, he he knows it's me, and he sees me, and his eyes light up. When he's crying.
Do you want more children?
Yes.
Just months later, Michael's daughter, Paris, was born. And in 2002, Jackson welcomed another son known as Blanket. Michael assumed sole custody and formed a powerful bond with all 3 children. It's very striking on the birthday videos that were taken before Michael died. The affection, the level of affection that all 3 kids have for him.
And I love you so much.
And they did, and he loved them. That's what kept him going, those children.
I mean, Mike called them the full buddies, you know, and that's what they were. So there was no one closer.
So close that some wondered whether Michael's embrace was too tight.
First verse one more time.
At many of those birthday parties, the Jackson 4 were the only ones celebrating because no other children were invited.
All this food, all this cake. You're like, well, where are all the kids? We thought we was coming to a big party. You got a magician, a clown, and you're only entertaining 3 kids.
Michael also homeschooled his children and worried obsessively about their safety. In the Living with Michael Jackson documentary with Martin Bashir, Prince and Paris were filmed wearing elaborate masks. Michael did not want their identities revealed because he feared they would be kidnapped.
He was also scared that his children were going to be poisoned. And he was worried when they were at Netherlands that coyotes were going to come and snatch them away. And because of that, they were incredibly isolated.
Since Michael Jackson's death, the children have emerged from their lives of isolation. In accordance with their father's wishes, they live with Michael's mother, Catherine, in this Encino home. The family says the process of healing has been steady but slow.
Paris constantly says she misses her dad, and she wished he were there with her every single day.
In a newspaper interview published this week, Catherine Jackson revealed that Paris has turned her room into a virtual shrine to her father, and that each child spends hours every day listening to Michael's music.
I know how much those children are going to miss their father. They're coping with it. You know, they cope with it.
Some are concerned that 80-year-old Catherine is overwhelmed by caring for Michael's 3 young children and several of their cousins as well. In March, the LA Department of Child and Family Services investigated reports that Blanket Jackson's cousin, Jafar, had tried to taser him. Do you think 7 kids was too much, perhaps, to have anybody looking after?
Let's put it this way. Catherine has raised 9 children of her own. You know, certain things possibly need to change moving forward, but those kids are in really good hands.
Do you think they should be allowed at some point to go to school instead of being
Absolutely.
homeschooled?
It's in the plans for them to go to school, and I think they're looking forward to it.
January, Prince and Paris accepted a Grammy Award on their father's behalf.
Through all his songs, his message was simple: love.
The children continued their coming out party in these videos, recently posted on YouTube. Paris performs a rap song,
and I'm sort of like a hooligan,
while Blanket acts out a Star Wars skit.
Hey, Dad, baby, come up here, Father. He's my grandfather.
It was the kind of publicity Michael had hoped they would never have. In fact, he hoped they would never follow him onto the stage. Why do you think Michael was opposed to any of his children ever going into the music business?
I don't think he wanted any of his children to have the life that he had, because it wasn't easy.
In details of a family trust made public just weeks ago, Michael Jackson left the bulk of his estate to his children. He was careful not to give them too much too soon. Each child must be 40 years old to inherit all the money due them, at least $33 million each. Do you think they have any concept how much money they are each worth?
I don't think it's important to them. I think what's important to them is the family around them. And
No, I think more from the aspect of being on guard against people trying to take advantage of them.
I will say this: Prince is very, very smart, beyond his years, and he knows what's going on.
All 3 children will have to be savvy in the years ahead. They face many of the same hurdles their father did, surrounded by the promise and the pitfalls of massive wealth, and pursued everywhere by paparazzi.
They don't really like to be photographed still. But you can't keep every camera away.
Just yesterday, these pictures were taken at a family holiday in Hawaii. Do you think it's possible that they can ever have a somewhat normal life?
I don't think, being the children of Michael Jackson, I don't think they'll ever have a completely normal life.
In a life full of surprises, Michael Jackson's finances stand out. How could a man so rich be so broke when he died? Nearly $500 million in debt. Where did it all go? And why is he rolling in it now? Jim Avila follows the money.
Michael Jackson lives anew in an upcoming video game. And he's alive again in a new Cirque du Soleil stage production.
Cirque du Soleil and Michael Jackson.
The DVD of Jackson's This Is It concert movie is a marketing smash. A treasure trove of unreleased music is on the horizon. You can buy a King of Pop ringtone. His estate has sold $5 million worth since his death. Today, Michael Jackson is just about as hot as ever. In the year since he died, SoundScan reports that U.S. fans bought more albums than in his previous 8 years combined.
It was an amazing year for him.
Author Richard Sicklow says when it comes to money, his lost years are over.
He didn't work for nearly a decade, and so 2001 was his last studio album.
Jackson had made mounds of money in the 1980s, but as his popularity dropped and the money stopped coming in, it was still going out by the boatload.
I kind of, cringed at times.
His former publicist, Stuart Backerman, witnessed some of Jackson's legendary shopping excess, but says it wasn't always what it seemed. Take this spree that appeared in the Living with Michael Jackson documentary with Martin Bashir.
But they were all for show.
Did we get those? I like those.
He felt, like a lot of celebrities, but in Michael's case, because he was the biggest of them all, that he had to come off like he was an extravagant spender.
He did sometimes send things back, but there's no arguing. Michael liked to spend.
He didn't really take money seriously because he really deeply believed that money would never be an issue for the rest of his life.
The result of that attitude, money flew out the door of Neverland, which cost an estimated $600,000 a month to maintain. One former advisor claimed Jackson spent $8 million a year on plane charters, antiques, paintings, and other personal expenses.
At the lowest point, he was spending $10 to $15 million a year more than he was bringing in.
Did he have the savings to make that up?
It's as though you have, you take out a a credit card and borrow the max on that credit card to pay off another credit card. He just did it on a gigantic scale.
Another huge expense? The lawsuits, settled with multi-million-dollar payouts, the most prominent with boys who accused him of sexual abuse. One child was paid nearly $20 million to settle his case. A second boy took him to criminal trial, and the legal costs there were large too. He stiffed his top lawyer for more than $300,000 till the day he died. But in an interview with Jesse Jackson, Michael denied financial troubles.
Michael, are you broke?
That's not true at all. It's just one of their many schemes to embarrass me and to just drag me through mud. It's sensationalized kind of gossip.
Even though Michael Jackson was found not guilty, the bad publicity hurt record sales, and his assets carried heavy mortgages, including the Beatles catalog and his own music rights. He owed upwards of $450 million, and creditors were at the door. Utility bills and staff unpaid.
As Michael, I just can't do this anymore.
Mike LaPerouse ran security for Jackson.
He apologized to me several times about not being able to pay me, that he would make it up to me. And I think he was very embarrassed.
And then the worst happened. 2 years ago, Michael Jackson faced foreclosure. He could not make the balloon payment on his once beloved Neverland.
It will be very embarrassing for Michael Jackson to lose his home in foreclosure.
Dr. Tome Tome, a very private businessman, was brought in by Jermaine Jackson at the last minute to help save the ranch and all of Jackson's personal property inside from foreclosure.
And 14 days left to pay how much money?
$23 million plus.
Then how much did he have in the bank?
He didn't have anything close to that number.
Tome put together an 11th-hour deal with an investment firm called Colony Capital to pay off the loan. So Michael and his advisors turned to his other debts and making a future for his kids.
He once told me, I don't want to be performing Billie Jean when I'm 50 years old.
But his manager told him he had to stop resisting a comeback and perform again.
I said, Michael, listen, if you wanted to control your own destiny, you have to go back to work because you need to make money.
The This Is It show in London was the solution. Randy Phillips of AEG, the company in charge of the 50 show tour, was shocked at how quickly the tickets sold out.
When we cut it off on the public on sale at 50 shows, there were enough people. There were over, I think, 225 to 240,000 people still queued up on Ticketmaster, and the ticketing agencies were selling tickets. So we probably could have done 200 shows.
What would that have meant for Michael Jackson?
He would have netted probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 or $60 million for that run.
Phillips says This Is It was actually just the beginning. An international tour that could have brought in as much as $500 million to Jackson was in the works. But Michael was already spending his cash advance.
There was a house in Bel Air, and the owner wanted like $90 million for it. I said, Michael, you know, you could live very beautifully in Bel Air in a $15 million house.
In fact, only in death have Jackson's finances become solid. And for the first time in years, more money is coming in than is going out. Former manager and the man who calls himself Jackson's alter ego, Frank DeLeo, says that may sound like good news, but it came at too high a price.
I'm sure that's the way his children and his mother feel. All this money coming in, give me Michael.